Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tristate with Tiny and Katie.
I am really excited for our next guest today. He's going to steer us in the right direction. We have Dean Hamburg, who is the owner of Allegany Driving School, and I know that these are jokes that you never tire of.
I want to see if you wrote these on here.
No, right before we went live, did you see me laughing?
No.
Or did you guys see me smiling?
I did. Oh, that,
yeah,
like right before.
I was thinking of puns in my head to get us started here.
Wow.
So anyway, Dean, thanks for being here with us today.
It's great to be here.
And let's just start by walk us through Allegany Driving School and the different services that you offer.
Sure. Well, our main thing that we offer is driver education because it is a requirement in Maryland, unlike some of our neighboring states such as Pennsylvania and West Virginia. You don't have to take driver education. We do have some of those folks take it because it does give them a reduction in their insurance rates. But in Maryland, you must take the approved 36-hour program, which consists of 30 hours of classroom and then 6 hours behind the wheel driving.
Is it 6 hours?
It's 6.
Wow, I don't.
You would think it would be the other way, 6 hours and then 30 hours of driving, but it's just it's not logistically.
I just don't remember the 6 hours because Allegany Driving School is where I went for driver's ed, and wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess it must have been
three 2-hour sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the funny thing was that we rode around and we did, I think it was me and 2 other people. So we would then take turns.
Right.
And the instructor was trying to throw us off our game for, certain different things, which you would be better versed to tell us about. But nonetheless I was so familiar. My dad and I used to love to ride back roads on the weekends. It's all we would do, just ride around.
Sure.
So there really wasn't a road within like her radius that she would take us that I hadn't already been on and known like the back of my hand. So she said, well, I'm going to take you on this road. I said, oh, that's one of my favorites. And she couldn't find a road that I didn't know about, but we did have a lot. I remember it was very fun doing driver's ed with Allegany.
That's good. That's good. Well, we try to offer a great program, and again, it's something that, one of the biggest life skills that we have to do, driving a vehicle, it's very important. As far as the 6 hours, we do have basically lesson plans or what are called route plans. And again, it depends on the skill level of the driver. The first question as we check the student's learner's permit is what's your driving experience, and you'll get anything from I've never driven, I've driven in a parking lot, I grew up on a farm, I know how to drive. So.
Yeah. Right.
Let me get this correct. So in the state of Maryland, because I got my license in Pennsylvania, when you go and you get your permit, you have to, by law, go to a driving school, driver's ed, to then proceed to get your license?
That is correct. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 21. In Maryland, you have to take driver ed. So if you're 25 and you go to the MVA and say, hey, I'm deciding to get a license, the certificate's not on file, then there's no way around it in Maryland.
And they don't offer driver's ed in school anymore?
No, it's been out of the schools probably over 30 years now. This is my 27th year. Back as when you guys took driver ed as well. I took it at Boonesboro High School, and I graduated in '87. So it's been in the private sector now. Yes.
What made you want to get into this?
I got into it because I'm a school teacher and I needed a summer job, and my wife, we started having a family and we weren't living the lifestyle that we were accustomed to. So a woman said, you're already a teacher, and what I thought was going to be a summertime job turned into year-round. I used to coach at South High. I got out of coaching and got into driver ed, and this is going on my 7th year of owning the company. Jim Frazier, the founder, gave me the opportunity to buy in 6 years ago. So,
what are some things that you are noticing with drivers now as opposed to 7, 8 years ago?
Well, the big trend is since that I've noticed is I call everybody kids, but people are waiting to get their license since COVID for some reason. We see a lot of 18 to 25-year-olds. I don't know about you guys, but when I was 16, I wanted to get my license right away, right? It gives you freedom and stuff like that. I notice out there, because I'm in the car every single day, that there's a lot of, I hate to say this is factual, a lot of rude people, a lot of aggressive driving, which can lead to some very, very bad things. Matter of fact, I always say this, I'd rather do driver's training in the car without a logoed out car. Okay. And I'm sure that you've seen this, and I tell parents that be patient on the back of a car, a rookie driver, student driver. I mean, I've lived this for 26 years. You would think that people would be like, oh, there's a student driver, give them a little, it's not. I've seen some very, very scary things out there with everybody wants to pass the driver ed car. And, you know, I'm hitting, I have a brake on my side. I'm hitting the brake, and the kid's like, what, did I do something wrong? I'm like, look, you know, the car that's passing us, if we don't brake, they might hit us because they're going to get in a head-on collision. And they've got to get back over into the lane in front of us very quickly. Seen some stuff where cars are passing us, and the oncoming traffic is on the shoulder because to avoid the head-on collision.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think a lot of that, and I say this cautiously because I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but our area has seen a massive influx of folks coming from the city and bedroom communities because, you know, even though the distance make it greater, commutes seem to get shorter and shorter as the city kind of expands. Do you think some of that, because when you go down in the city, man, that's how they drive.
Yes.
And they don't care. If a car doesn't have 5 or 6 dents on it, it's not from there or it's new, right?
Sure.
But do you think that mentality kind of comes up our way a little bit?
Well, you know, people love to come up to the Tristate area because it is so nice. And you're right, a lot of people commute. And that mindset, again, in the last couple of years, a lot of aggressive drivers out there, a lot of rude drivers. And, you know, here we're trying to teach our students the proper way and the rules of the road and to make safe drivers for you and I and your families. And it's just crazy how the driver ed vehicle gets disrespected. It's just amazing to me. So
that's really unbelievable. I mean, I know definitely if I get behind a vehicle that says driver in training, I might roll my eyes and think, okay, well, it's going to be slow go for a little bit.
Sure.
But of course, it's give them space, give them room. I mean, they're scared, they're learning. That's just unbelievable to me that, I mean, all you're doing is making that person panic more.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that, you know, the biggest thing is us getting past, right? The driver ed car getting past. 9 times out of 10, when we come to the next stop sign, stoplight, or town, the person or people that have passed us are right in front of us.
Right in front of you.
So they've gained nothing except
not
a
a
chance to get into a head-on collision and or a speeding ticket. So
everyone thinks they're getting somewhere faster, and I, you know, I have a big time guilty pleasure in that when someone speeds by and drives like an idiot, and then
they're in the same spot.
They're right where we are.
Right, and of course, it being in the driver ed car and our company and our logo, you know, there is no ha 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 or something like that. You got to be professional about it the whole time. But you're just thinking, you know, all these tragedies that we see, especially on this corridor out here that is 81, don't you want, you know, your kids and your family members to be safe? So
I don't remember this when I took it, but do you guys take them on 70 and 81?
We try to get the whole realm of driving in, from parking lot to maneuvers to residential, country, city, and we try to get them onto the highway. I've had some parents that have told me before, I would rather you not do that. I've had some parents that said that's the only thing that we haven't done. I call the highway or the interstate the Michael Jordan of driving. Everyone thinks that. Tons of people say they've done everything but the highway, when really, to be honest, in my driving experience and teaching experience, once you're on the highway, it's the easiest driving that there is because there's no stop signs, there's no stoplights, you never make a left or right hand
parallel
turn.
parking.
But with that being said, the hardest thing for me as a driver, I don't know about you guys, and to teach, is the
Merging.
merge. Very, very tough and very scary at times.
Can be, yeah.
So yeah, we do. I try to stay off 81, but I try to get a long entrance ramp on 70 somewhere, and then we practice lane changings and of course the merge to go off of it.
When I got my permit, I was a terrible driver, and my mom, we would argue, like the patience was very thin with her to me and vice versa. So she paid for me to have private lessons. And I remember being in the driver's side and the instructor was in the passenger side with the brake. And I mean, he was like white knuckling on the brake the entire time. And I could see him hitting it a lot. And I just thought, oh, I don't think I'm doing a really good job. And then when we would merge, I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And I hear his voice in my head 22 years later, pick a spot and go for it.
Sure.
Pick a spot and go. If it's, don't slow down, don't pick your spot. That's where you're going and make it happen.
You got to
Don't-
accelerate
yes.
and be aggressive actually to find that spot, and then you can settle down once you're into the
Right.
flow of traffic.
I don't know why you can't rely on people following the law when they see someone coming over. If they are able, they are to get over.
Sure.
To let you merge. And everything will be so much easier. The interstate system is designed that while you are on the interstate, you don't have to slow down.
Right.
You should be at speed when you merge on, and you can be at speed when you merge off. And then, of course, obviously, once you're off, you can get the brakes and do what you need to do.
It is always kind if there is room in the left lane for the car that's in the right lane for the merging vehicle to go ahead
Sure.
and lane change. But again, they don't have to. We are merging, so we don't have the right of way. It's just, again, the culture out on the road.
I love this. I love that you're here.
Yeah.
I was always under the impression that the law said they don't have to get
No.
over. Really?
No, they don't have to.
Okay.
It's more so of a courtesy thing, to be kind to someone. Again, I just said that in my experience, and I think Katie agreed, it's the toughest thing to do to merge.
It can be, yeah.
So why not get over and so that it's not a
Because
situation.
we've all been there.
Right.
You're
Right.
no better than everyone's been in these positions. I don't understand why one person thinks that they're.
And the other thing about it is, most of our clientele are those 16 to 18-year-old students. When can they drive? 10 months out of the year, right when rush hour starts because they're in school.
Right.
Right.
So it's when they're doing their lessons, again, it's a second shift job for 10 months out of the year because most of our clients are high school students. It's between 3:30 and 7, which is rush hour. So yeah, there's some times. But really, I like most of my close calls have came on backcountry roads and in the city of people
are so
on their
comfortable
phone. Yeah,
and straight
right.
on
And
their phones.
once they're basically we're right-hand lane 65 to 70, and that's the other thing that I see all the time. We're going 70 miles per hour. Everyone's doing 85.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, they see drive red, and that just it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull, and they just fly and zoom
Like
by
you're
us.
sitting still.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Dean, with the last minute that we have here, what would be the biggest piece of advice you would give to a new driver?
Well, the biggest piece of advice I would say is practice makes perfect. Again, 6 hours. What can you be good at in 6 hours? Not much.
Yeah.
So these parents really need to mentor their students and train and practice with their students. And tons of times, they call up and say, Mr. Hamburg, my daughter's not that good of a driver. Well, that's because you haven't driven with her.
That you're just not good at it.
Again, I can't cook, right? So if I have to cook the upcoming meal on Thanksgiving, everyone's going to be disappointed because I've never had to cook. I never
Right.
wanted to cook. So yeah, practice. I would say practice, and more practice.
And
Yeah.
patience.
The parents need to have patience. Yes,
My
yes,
poor mom.
absolutely.
And my poor driving instructor, he probably still talks about me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget 20 years ago, this Katie girl, and she had no idea how to merge. And
Well, and that's a good point too, because good on your mom for doing that, and because it scares me to death. My daughter's 4, and to think that, and I know if it's anything like she is now, she's going to want to drive. But as a parent, you're carrying no more precious cargo than your own child. So it's kind of a catch-22. At one point, you're like, it's probably best if I don't do this. But then it's like, oh my goodness, can I really trust someone else? And I can tell you, Dean, you're extremely trustworthy. And
Yes.
before we let you go, just because you've been nice enough to come on here and dispel some rumors, obviously educated me on the law people don't have to get over, so I can stop flipping them the bird. So let's, what's your website, phone number, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's AlleganyDriving.us and 301-766-0087.
Awesome. Dean, thank you so much for being here with us today.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.